But before we get into it, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications so that you never miss another video, and live up.
Recording. Here we go. So, welcome to Live Up, Nicole.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So give me like the 5-second version of what you do.
So Fresh Squeezed Goods was born out of quarantine. And I needed something to do to get off my phone and to stop watching the news. And I just started making things. And out of making things, Jamie, my boyfriend, said, you can't keep all this stuff, so you should open a shop. And here we are.
And so what kind of stuff are you making?
So it started out making more jewelry and bracelets, anything that I could really buy off of Amazon. And then it's kind of evolved. We bought a laser cutter. It's called a Glowforge, and it's something that I've wanted for years. And I followed the Kickstarter and just could never afford it or justify it. And we made the plunge on it. And so we now are able to engrave and cut things like wood and acrylic and engrave on some metals. So it's really opened up the spectrum of what we can create.
I love that. And this isn't all you do. You like have a day job in addition to this, right?
Yeah, and I think that's part of what's always held me back, is that I always thought that I had to throw my whole life into my main hustle. And what I realized is that you need to diversify yourself a little bit, and you also need to have something to do to take your mind off of that day grind. So this has really been a great outlet for me to say that, like, yes, I still love my job and I still love what I do, but like I needed something to take my mind off of it. And without travel and without being able to see friends, like this has really helped my mental state through all this.
Yeah, and I know you as somebody who really thrives with creative endeavors, and your day job is pretty creative. And so it sounds like too, this has been a bit of an outlet for some of that.
It has been. I think that, I spend a lot of time thinking about what I can do in my day job with artists at Sony Music Nashville, and we do partnerships. So it's all about finding two pieces that can come together for a creative event or something along those lines. And so without that, it's been fun to put that creativity into not only learning social media and discovering more about TikTok and all these things that I wouldn't have had the time to, that also apply to my real job, but it's been fun to kind of push those boundaries on my own to just learn about those topics in general.
I think that's so smart on so many levels. And I think for like so many of us grew up thinking like your job is your job and it's sacred and you can't do anything outside of your job. But the research now shows that people who get creative stimuli from multiple directions tend to thrive even more in all of the things they do. And
I couldn't agree more.
And so when I heard what you said about like diversifying, it's something I've been thinking about a lot personally. Like, because I realized the other day I was part of the challenge in our relationships, in our work, et cetera, is this feeling of one person or one thing has to be all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the same way that your boyfriend is going to be like your lover and your creative partner now, he can't also be your best friend and your counselor and your one person just can't fill all the roles any more than one job can, I guess.
And I think that goes for fulfillment too. Like I can't expect for Sony to be like my be all end all for my happiness or for my keeping occupied or just any of that. And so I think that it's important that you have other outlets and that you're not judged by your level of work by being the first one in and the last one out, or the person that sends the emails at 3:00 in the morning. There's no reason that, especially in this work from home life, that you can't get what you need to get done within a certain period of time and then separate it. And it's not that you're not still thinking about it. While I'm working on FSG stuff, I'm still thinking about Sony. I'm still thinking about how things I'm working on could apply to Sony. But it's nice to be able to have something else to do other than sit there and scroll through Instagram.
Yeah, how has it affected your day-to-day work life to have this second job?
It's been great because I know that there's this period of time when, the evening comes where I've got to shut the work computer. and I've got to put away the work phone. And we say there's no emergencies in country music, and there really isn't. Like, there's no reason for me to be sitting there constantly checking my email, and to be able to shut my brain off and turn something else on. It's honestly been my saving grace through this whole thing.
Yeah, tell me about your quarantine experience.
So when everything kind of went down, we were actually in Barcelona, Spain, and we actually got shut down in the hotel, and we got locked down there. And so we were there for a week. And when we finally made it back to the States, they said, okay, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And at the same time, our office shut down. So everybody was quarantining. And, when we were looking at it at first, everybody's like, oh yeah, this will be over by Memorial Day. And I think the more that it set in from like the let's just binge snack and like watch TV to like, oh my gosh, this is our new reality. There's a level of depression that comes in. I had this whole big schedule this year and like all these tentpole events that we were working on and artist releases and everything else. And obviously like seeing family. And when you realize that that's not going to happen, I think I went through this wave of huge depression to say like, oh my gosh, now I'm stuck here. And as somebody who loves to get up and go and always be on the move and always have something that they're working on, I honestly was freaking out a little bit. And so the fact that I've found this and really, put so much of my time into discovering like how to open an LLC and a business bank account and all that, like it has been the best feeling in the world. And so it's helped this whole time go a lot quicker and a lot smoother.
I think that's got to be so true for so many people, that part of what was so depressing and disorienting about this time was the lack of excitement.
Right.
It's like you heard so many people talking about Groundhog Day because we weren't getting new creative stimuli in so many cases. And while I certainly did not learn a new language or launch a new business or, write a book, like so many of us have joked that we might do with all the extra time. I think creating, like actively manufacturing ways to learn something, to be challenged, to kind of create that excitement when the world as we knew it and our normal sources of that were just gone. And you went to see a lot of music before.
A lot of music, and it was fun to see the live shows that were done and the Global Citizen thing, and there's some other tentpole moments, but that fatigue of live streams set in real quick for me because we were doing 50 of them a week on the Sony side with our artists and just trying to find anything that we could to keep them on the radar, and there had to be something else.
Yeah, it's like once we all went through the first moment of, radical change. Let's see if we can figure out how to survive. And it was a very sink or swim moment in so many businesses, I think, in March. And then it was like, okay, we survived. Now what?
Right. And it seemed like every week there was more bad news on like either how long it was going to go or other things that were happening in the world. And I just felt so out of control of so much of it and I can tend to be a control freak sometimes. So there was just no way to do it other than to embrace what was happening.
I love that, to embrace it and sort of say, like, what do I do with this new normal?
Mm-hmm. And I've always wanted my own brand. And that goes back to, you've supported me since we've known each other. And I just think like it was the perfect time to say like, okay, you're out of excuses of like, you don't have time or like, you're not home. You're both of those things right now. So
right. Yeah. Like when all the excuses go away, do you do it or not? Yeah. And so what's it been like for you to be a small business owner and your own brand?
It's been scary because I think that there's a lot of judgment that comes out of people who are like, oh, you're doing this now. Like, what about your real job? Or like, you must not be paying attention to your real job. Or the fact that there's so many makers and small business owners that I look up to, especially here in Nashville and that I've known for my whole life. It's hard to like live up to that excitement and expectation. And so it's been fun though. I have to sometimes just like swallow it and say like, post that Instagram post or like take that photo or reach out to that person that you've admired. And I feel like the playing field is leveled right now. So I can make those mistakes. I can experiment and learn from it where I wouldn't have had that opportunity any other time.
I love that. And what a cool way to look at it. It all comes back to our perspective in the end, right? The reality is what we make of it. I love though that you said it's been scary.
Yes.
I'm curious how that fear and all this unknown has served you.
It has been, because I'm like, there's not a whole lot more that could be in an uncertain place right now. So why not take a few more uncertain leaps? You know, why not spend the money on getting the LLC? Like, why not try to, you know, why not try to sell my own products? Why not try to bring in this material that I'm purchasing in large quantities to be able to make orders? And, you know, even the Glowforge that we bought was a huge investment, but in this time, like, why not?
Yeah, it's sort of freeing in that sense, I guess. Like you said, because all those other, like, you don't have enough time stops when those excuses are gone.
And we just don't know what the future is going to look like. Like, hopefully things go back to normal. And we were just talking about that. Like, hopefully there's a vaccine and we get, you know, everything squared away in the next few months. But we could also be in this predicament for a while, and we may also never return to going back to a full working situation. So to be able to have something that I've started within this time and then be able to grow it once things maybe do become a little bit more normal, I think is my favorite part of starting right now.
There's also something really important and inspiring in what you said when you said, this is something I always wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's phrase I keep hearing lately, don't let your music die inside of you.
Oh my gosh.
Right? It's so good. And it's such a challenge because it is freaking scary to let your music out.
It is.
And I think like what you're here to remind us of is that buy the damn Glowforge. What's the worst that could happen? You have less money.
Right. Do the dang thing. Like, whatever that thing is, just do it.
It's going to inspire you to make a whole bunch of stuff you never would have made before. Learn about TikTok. Which my kids can help with if you need.
I need it.
Same. But all of that, it's happening. Regardless, the time is passing.
It is. And I haven't been shut down yet, which is great. Yeah, sometimes I can't believe that I'm doing it. And sometimes like I wake up and realize like, oh my gosh, I have to fulfill orders. Or every time my phone makes the little ding noise from Shopify, I like freak out and I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody loved this enough to like spend their hard-earned money on it, which people don't have a lot of right now. And that's a really special feeling that I didn't know I was capable of achieving.
What a beautiful thing to discover about yourself. And maybe that's part of the newness stuff, is that we stop challenging ourselves, so we stop discovering what we're capable of.
Yeah. And I mean, going back to this diversity thing, like I've been preaching, to a lot of my friends who are on the live side or who have found themselves without jobs about diversifying. And I started to say, like, I really need to put my money where my mouth is, because I'm telling them to diversify. And here I am obsessed with my day job. And, I feel like I've always been that workaholic, and it was time for me to step up and say, like, okay, if I need to diversify, like, what is that thing? And it's taught me so much, not only about what I'm capable of, but also helped me tie back into that main hustle. And I think that's been it's a great learning experience.
And we always be learning.
Always.
And scaring ourselves. Like, I get a little worried when I haven't been scared at all in a while. I'm like, because clearly I'm doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah, like if we don't feel a little bit scared every once in a while, then we're stagnant. We're not learning.
And so in that same vein, it's important to figure out, like, okay, now that I've launched the company, like, what is the next step? And I think, like, the good for good stuff that I'm trying to do, or the goods for good. And then the idea of collaborating with more makers or just people in general who may have ideas. Like, I think that's been my favorite part, is really figuring out like, how can I help bring somebody's vision to life? Or like, how can we're raising money right now for this great girl, Ashley, who has leukemia and who was also a victim of the Vegas shootings a few years ago. And so she's just such a warrior. And the fact that I've made this little keychain that people are buying and it's then going to her GoFundMe, like, that stuff is so important to me. And I think that it's also giving me life to kind of move forward and figure out, like, how do I grow this so that I can help more people? And then maybe the diversified stuff comes back into it where I can help people in that way as well. It's just trying to keep myself busy, I guess.
You do a good job of keeping yourself busy.
Always.
I think too, though, this idea of collaboration keeps coming up, and people I've talked to throughout these months. And the series really didn't start until March with the lockdown. And so I've gotten to talk to people throughout the course of this strange time, throughout that evolution that we were discussing before. And just in recent weeks and months, more people seem to be talking about collaboration as their new way of forging connection. So instead of like, let's just hang out, it's like, let's actually get something done together.
Right. We can't go out and like drink on the town, but like, let's talk about the ideas that you have and the ideas that I have and figure out if there's ways to do them together. And my friend Bonnie here in town has been so great for that. We come from like the same kind of partnerships background. So I feel like our brains think the same way. And she took a giant leap of faith and she opened 2 dry bar franchises here. But at the same time, she's got these ambitions of, you know, creating her own mecca, really. And so it's been really fun to like bounce ideas off of each other and to figure out how we can help each other. And that's how we got our first pop-up shop, because she was like, I need to decorate my tree. And I was like, well, I can provide the ornaments. She's like, and I'll sell your ornaments. And it's just like, that kind of stuff just kind of blows up. And it's been really great to not just think that we have to go and like sit at a bar and drink wine, and we can actually like have productive meetings out of this whole thing.
That is really cool. And to be honest, probably creating much deeper connections than you would sitting at a bar.
So much. So much more.
Not that I won't be excited to sit at a bar with you again.
Someday, yeah.
And we will have diversified how we socialize and how we connect as a result of this.
Yeah, if we remember how to socialize in the old way anymore.
It is funny. Whenever I'm around other humans now, I feel a little like, where do I stand?
What do I do with my hands?
Up away. Do I look like I'm overly cautious, or am I offending them with my lack of caution? Am I over caution?
Have to like elbow bump? Are we like?
No, I've got a solve on that one. If you want my big takeaway on that.
What is that?
Being super explicit. Like,
like, I'm going to hug you right now.
well, I haven't done that actually, but yeah. I'm very much like, I will be standing over here. It's been the most interesting training in defining our own boundaries and guardrails. Because like, I don't know, there were so many things I felt like we all just took for granted and we all sort of agreed on what worked. And now with all of this, there just haven't been any strong guidelines for so long that we had to say, okay, my guardrails are, I never am without a mask within 6 feet of people indoors, right?
Yeah.
We all kind of came up with our own parameters, and I think we just had to get really honest.
Well, what do you do when somebody comes at you for the handshake? Because somebody did that to me yesterday and I like panicked. And so I like gently shook and then immediately turned around and hit the hand sanitizer. So I don't know if it was more offensive to deny the handshake or to then use the hand sanitizer.
And that's it. I just say, I'm not there yet. Like I'm really into this whole idea of just like really owning where I am in my COVID journey.
I love it. I'm there.
Yeah, my husband Andy and I joke a lot about about the things we don't say for fear of offending people in our lives.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we've been on a mission for the last year to just say them because people do weird things. There was one time some well-meaning couple walked up to us with our baby and was like, "We just adopted this dog and we don't know how he is with animals. Would it be okay if your baby petted him?" And because we are like overly polite people, we're like, "Okay." I'm like, "What?"
So weird. So weird.
What is wrong with us? So that every time now we have one of these like handshake moments, we look at each other and we're like, "Dog,
Reminder.
don't do the thing just to be polite."
Love that.
But being 45 has taught me. Totally off topic. Anyway, going back to you and Fresh Squeezed Goods, and this big endeavor, what are the big live up lessons?
I think it's just to do the dang thing. Just do it. Like, post the photo, start the LLC, build the brand, chase whatever you want. And I'm preaching to myself right now, but it's like, don't think about what other people might say. If you feel it in your heart, you got to do it. And you got to do it now because you just never know what tomorrow or what anything. And that sounds so cliche, but I haven't really embraced that until this year. It's that you can plan to do that next year, but like, we don't know what next year looks like right now. We have no idea. And so if you feel it in the moment, just do the dang thing.
Do the dang thing. No better advice has ever been given. We stop ourselves so much by overthinking.
So much. Yeah.
We do so much more when we just courageously try and learn and get scared.
Yes. And that's great. Like, I love what you said about it. If you haven't been scared in a while, you're not doing what you should be doing.
Oh, my love. I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited by what you're doing. I am so inspired by your courage and your willingness to just keep taking steps forward. That's always been core to who you are as a human.
Same. I mean, I feel like you do the same and you're crushing it with everything that you're doing. And so thank you for those kind words.
Love you so much.
Love you too.